All right. So, hi everyone. Now we should be live. Again, as always, sorry for the technical issues at the beginning. I'm still trying to figure out how I stream on Instagram and YouTube at the same time. It's a bit complicated because I have to use separate software and it doesn't always work. All right, nevertheless, I think we are good to go. So, if you're live and joined the chat, then I hope you had a great evening, had a great weekend. So, it's Sunday evening. And what I usually do on Sunday evening is that I organize my week, my work week. And this is also why I decided to do a live today about organization in management consulting. Good. So I see people are joining the chat. That's great. And I would say, let's start. So, do you want to be organized in management consulting? Then this video is for you. I will share 5 steps on how to stay organized in management consulting. Hi everyone, my name is Johannes Niari and welcome to this channel. Welcome to Mastering Consulting. And on this channel, I want to help you to learn the necessary skills to be successful in management consulting, but also to live a well-balanced private life. And today we have a very interesting topic. In this live, we will talk about 5 steps to stay organized as a management consultant. And as you probably know, this is part of my daily lesson learn series. So I do daily lives to share my insights and tips and experiences that I had previously in management consulting and that I still have during my work every day. As always, if you have questions, then please write them in the chat. I will first go through the content and after that I will answer questions if you have any. And if you're in the chat right now, maybe a question from me to you. So I'm interested in what do you think is the most important thing in staying organized in management consulting. So I want to know what you think about that. So please write in the chat. I would say let's start with the topic. So organization in management consulting. And as always, let me start with a short backstory. So when I started in management consulting like 3 or 4 years ago, I remember my first project. It was really like hell. It was a bit understaffed actually, and it was very complicated. We had a lot of different stakeholders, and it was just like crazy, right? We had so many tasks to do. We had so many substreams. We only had a few people on the project. It was way understaffed. And I know that the first weeks I almost had no weekend at all. I had so much to do. And I was juggling so many balls that I actually dropped a lot of them. So I forgot some meetings. I forgot to meet the deadline. My private life was completely out of balance because the project was so intense. And let's be honest, it's not always that way. So it's not always, and so not every week is like a week where you go completely crazy and work like 100 hours. But nevertheless, consulting is usually very stressy. And my first weeks in consulting that I just explained to you, since they were so chaotic, I decided that I need to change something. And I decided that I realized that I need to change my organization approach for my work week. So what I did was I read a lot of books, as always, about organization. I also talked to some of my mentors, and I talked to some more experienced colleagues what their hacks are to stay organized even in a very stressy week. And remember, in consulting, you usually have very intensive working hours. You have a lot of streams. You have to manage various stakeholders. So organizing or stay organized is really key to be successful. And I want to share my learnings now, or a kind of 5-step system that I developed back then, like 2 years ago, and that I kind of refined in the past 2 years. And this is a system that pretty much works for me. And I mean, I'm still figuring. I mean, let's be honest, it's still a challenge every day to stay organized. Nevertheless, I think these 5 steps that I share with you now will help you, especially at the beginning, to stay at least a bit in control of your tasks. Okay, so 5 steps. Let's start. So I think step number one of being organized in management consulting is that you give your week a structure. Okay, so this means that, I mean, we have certain areas in life, and I think it's very important to kind of have a certain structure when you do what exactly. Okay, so for example, what do I mean by that? So let's talk about work first. So I think it's very important that you decide upfront, at least as well as you can, when you want to work on what topics. Okay, so for me, usually this means from Monday to Friday. These days are typically blocked for my main work in management consulting at Stern Stewart. So that's the strategy boutique I'm working for. And these days, so like Monday to Friday, they are blocked for work. So I don't make any private appointments there. So I try to cancel every private task that I have or to do or meeting that I have during that 5 days, because I know work has priority there. Also, Sunday is usually blocked, but this is only my case for mastering consulting. So if you're working on a kind of side project, or if you have, I don't know, a kind of entrepreneurial activity going on, it's also very important to block these days up front. So this means for me, Sunday is mastering consulting, and then Monday to Friday is usually blocked for my work at Stern Stewart. Also, I recommend to block certain time slots for your health. Okay, so for me, this is like every day doing at least 10 minutes workout. So these are usually only a couple of push-ups and pull-ups to get my circulation going. But also I block like 4 dates in a week. It's usually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because there I have the most time for doing workouts. And it's very important that you plan these events up front. Otherwise, you have probably no chance doing sports at all. And it's the same with relationships. So I usually block Friday evening for friends, and then Saturday is blocked for my girlfriend and my family. Also the same with finances. So every Saturday morning I block like 1 or 2 hours to go through my finances and my investments, that everything is on track there. And it's the same with spirituality and organization. So I try to meditate every day and every evening. So this is blocked in my morning and evening routine. And also I block dates or time slots in advance for organization. Okay, so this is what I mean with giving your day, your week a structure. So if you kind of block certain days or certain time slots during the day, if you block these for certain categories of your life in advance, this structure will help you to not miss anything during the week. And this will help you to stay overall a bit in balance. Okay, so this is tip number one, give your week a structure. Then tip or step number two is, and this is what I usually do when I start planning the next week, is that I start with my to-do list. And I think this is a no-brainer. Obviously, you need to have a kind of to-do list. What I do, I have a certain system that I use. So I first write down all of my to-dos. What I then do is that I estimate the time that I need for these tasks. So maybe I say, okay, finalize presentation for next meeting. This will take about 120 minutes, for example. Okay, and I write that in my to-do list. What I also do is that I prioritize my tasks. So I distinguish between things that are important and urgent. Okay, so like urgent means that I have to meet a certain very tight deadline. Okay, important means that I don't necessarily have a certain deadline, but that this task kind of very much contributes to my main project or my main goals. Okay, so these are the two buckets, and then I have kind of 4 categories. So first category are tasks that are important and urgent. Second category are tasks that are only important. Third category are tasks that are only urgent. And fourth category of tasks are tasks that are neither urgent nor important. Okay, so I try to classify every to-do that I write down in that list. I try to classify this to-do in one of those 4 buckets. Okay, and this helps me to prioritize my tasks. So very important. You don't have to use the system that I just introduced, but I think it's very important, and this is key, to give your task a priority in order to know what you have to tackle first. Also, if you talk about to-dos, I think it's very helpful if you write down, besides your to-do, if you need help or any kind of input. So this will help you to realize or check very quickly who you have to call in advance in order to do this to-do, okay? Especially if you're in a project, this is kind of very important. And also I divide a main task into subtasks. So as I mentioned before, if I talk a presentation, I can say finalizing the presentation has the following steps, like first collecting content, aligning with my project manager, for example, and then send it to slide support. Okay, so I try to divide larger tasks into subtasks. Besides that, if we talk about to-dos, I think it's very important to both write down your professional but also your private to-dos. Okay, it is very important that you do that in advance as well, because you don't want to miss calling your mom if she has a birthday, for example, or you don't want to miss any tax deadline or whatsoever. These are classics, right? So everyone working in management consulting is used to dropping the balls that they are juggling, especially in the private sector. So it's very important that you also write down your private to-dos. Okay, in terms of tools that I use like a tool called Todoist, but you can use every other to-do list tool as well. You can use Outlook, is great for that, but also you can just have a physical list on paper, or you write it in your Microsoft OneNote or like in Apple Notes. It doesn't matter, okay, but you have to use a tool. And also very important, try to use one place, so one tool and not 3 tools, and also one piece of paper and not 3 pieces of paper. Okay, this will help you to stay organized. Okay, so this is step number 2, writing down your to-do list. The third step that I do is scheduling all my appointments. So after I wrote my to-do list, I go to my calendar and I include every meeting that I have and every kind of appointment that I have. So also in advance, so if I know, okay, these are the meetings that I have, I make sure that I, on the weekend, or at least a week before, send out all the invitations. Also, if I send an invitation to a client or a teammate, I make sure that a short agenda is included or a short outline what the meeting is about, so that everyone can prepare for the meeting. This is also very important. And again, make sure that you make these appointments for both your professional, also for your private life. And as silly as it sounds, but for example, me and my girlfriend, if we have a appointment or if we meet some friends on the weekend, we also block a certain time frame in the calendar, and we send out invites, at least to us, in order to stay organized and to not get kind of confused where we should be when at what time, right? So also make it a habit to include your private appointments in the calendar. Good. The tools that I use usually to do that is Outlook. So for my main meetings and main appointments, I use Outlook simply for that reason, because my email address is also included. So if someone sends me an invite, I just click accept, and this is usually the main calendar that I use also for work. So this was step number 3, managing your appointments. So just to shortly recap, first we said giving the day a structure. Second, we said, okay, we write a to-do list. Third is to include the appointments in your calendar. And then the fourth step is that you schedule your to-dos, okay? I just said that I usually write a to-do list, then I prioritize and so on. And then I block the meetings in the calendar. So once I block the meetings in the calendar, what I do is that I also schedule my to-dos in advance. So Usually, so if I wrote a to-do list and I know how long I will take for the to-do, then I can also easily include that in my calendar. And I try to do that as much in advance as I can, but it's also very important to stay flexible. The tool that I use for that is usually Google Calendars, but the only reason for that is that I don't want to have, so I don't want to have my to-dos in Outlook, because usually if people access your Outlook calendar and they see that you have blocked the entire day with your to-dos, they don't know when you are available for meetings. So that's the reason why I use a separate calendar, and I use Google Calendar because it's very easy to synchronize with the Todoist tool that I use. Okay, so this is step number 4, scheduling your to-dos. Step number 5, and this is the last step, is that you consider or that you are aware of the overall organization tips. Okay, and this is just, these are 5 tips that I want to give to you. And these are just some general rules that I found to be very helpful during my last 3 years in management consulting. So, overall tip number 1 is that you identify one single most important task that you have to do during that week. So remember, usually in consulting you have tons of tasks, and there are too many tasks for your time, right? But in order to get shit done, it's very important to identify the one and only most important task that you have to do no matter what. This can be an important presentation, this can be building a model, this can be an internal project, it doesn't matter. But identifying this one single most important task helps you to make progress over time, because you don't want to get stuck like in the trap where you work, but get nothing done that is important because you're only busy with doing the urgent tasks. Okay, so identifying one most important task that you have to accomplish, or that you have to do no matter what, helps to make progress on larger projects. Tip number 2 that I want to give to you is that you also have a not to-do list. So usually, I mean, if you make just a brainstorming of all the to-dos that you have, it can also help to have a very clear not to-do list. So this means once you identified your most important task, that you also say, okay, these are like 5 tasks that I don't do this week no matter what. Okay, the reason why you should do that is that this helps you, or this prevents you from filling your day with unimportant stuff. Okay, so usually if you have a couple of minutes left, you say, all right, this was on my list, I can do that. Then you start doing that, and instead of 10 minutes it takes like 2 hours. Okay, and this kind of can screw your entire schedule up. So what I do is to have also a not to-do list, and these are tasks that I kind of park at the side, and that I do probably the next after, or a couple of weeks later. Okay, so tip number 2 here is to have a not to-do list. Another tip that I can give to you is that you plan buffers. Okay, I just mentioned that I usually schedule all my meetings, but that I also schedule my to-dos. But it's very important that you only schedule like 50% of your time. Okay, so you should have at least 50% in your calendar as a buffer. The reason is that you don't want to get too stressed, because I mean, I can promise you, no matter what, that things will change during the day, and you want to be kind of flexible. Okay, so you don't want to get nervous if someone gives you a very important and urgent task that you have to deliver until, let's say, 6 p.m. and you want to have some room for that. Okay, so planning at least 50% of your time as a buffer can make your life much more relaxed and can help you to be prepared for uncertain events, right? Another tip number 4 that I can give you is that you have a clean desk policy. And with clean desk policy, I mean literally having a clean desk, but also having a clean like a workspace on your laptop. Okay, so this means like that your emails are managed, that your documents are managed, that your to-do lists are updated all the time, and just make it a habit also to clean your equipment. And this is just like that you feel good in the evening, and that you get the feeling that things are under control. But having a clean desk policy, both on your desk but also on your laptop, really helps to have a kind of clear clear mind about the task, that you also can take a step back, take a look at your task and say, okay, this is what I can prioritize. And I found out for me personally that a clean desk policy really helps me to kind of also stay clean in my head in terms of organization. And the last power tip that I want to give to you is that you have to expect the chaos and that you be flexible. Okay? Remember, I mean, we all do the organization as a kind of support for our daily work. But we don't want to become too nitty gritty in our organization, and it's always just a support. So don't get kind of angry or disappointed or nervous if things change. Okay, this can be your traveling schedule that changes. This can be prioritization that changes from your partner, for example. So just expect it, okay, and be flexible with your schedule and always be prepared for changing things. Okay, this is the last tip that I can give to you. So just to summarize, so the five steps that I use to organize my week is, first of all, giving my week a very clear structure. It's second, to have a clear to-do list. It's third, to schedule appointments well in advance. It's fourth, to also schedule my to-do list. And it's five, to take care of the power tips, the overall power tips that I just gave to you. And if you apply these 5 steps, this will typically or usually should help you to stay organized also during a busy week in management consulting. So this is what I wanted to share with you today. If you have any questions, then please write them in the chat. I will now go through the chat and see if there are any questions and answer them. So please feel free to write in the chat. Do you support a not to-do list? Yes, exactly. Yeah, I talked about that. So having a not to-do list, this is a concept that I got from Tim Ferriss, I think. He wrote about it in 4 Hours Work Week, probably. And I found this to be very helpful, okay? And this can be 2 things. Like as I just described during the content, this can be tasks that you just park on the side and that you do later on, but this can also be some negative things that you don't want to do at all. So if you have a kind of bad habit, like checking social media every 5 minutes, this can also be on your not to-do list, okay? That you also identify tasks that you don't want to do at all because they're a kind of bad habit and because they prevent you of being productive, okay? So yes, I think having a not to-do list is very crucial. That's true. So German, yeah, that's true. So maybe my organization approach is a bit German and too structured. Good. Then, if you don't have more questions about organization, let's call it a day. As always, if you have follow-up questions, you can write me on Instagram, and obviously you can also write on YouTube in the comments. Then I thank you for taking time to watch this video and to join me in this live session. Next week, again, we will do daily live sessions. I hope that I can do them in the morning, and I hope that I can schedule them way more in advance, because now they are kind of spontaneous. I know it's not optimal, but I hope to be a bit more structured and organized in the next week in terms of my live sessions. So with that being said, thank you for the time. Thank you for being with me on this live. I hope you have a very great start in the week, and talk to you tomorrow. Goodbye, Johannes.